Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Best Damn Pod in the Land. I am your host and sports director, Brian Nelson, and with me I have...
The one, the only, Andy Anders, your assistant sports editor.
One of many, Griffin Strom, your sports editor.
And today we have a very special guest because Khalid had a prior engagement. Lydia, why don't you introduce yourself?
I'm Lydia. I'm the assistant campus editor.
What? I could have sworn that was Khalid.
And I know nothing about sports.
You know nothing about sports?
Nothing.
Well, Andy, why don't you actually tell us a little bit why Lydia's here?
Well, we're going to do a fun segment with Lydia later. We're going to test her sports knowledge as a non-sports person. This might be a recurring segment if all of you that watch us enjoy it, which I'm not sure if we'll ever know whether or not you enjoy it. But this might be a recurring segment we do with other non-sports people from the Lantern, kind of just like a fun little 10-question quiz show.
And this year there are many.
There are many non-sports people on the Lantern, yes. Many.
All except for maybe us four, the usual cast here on the Best Damn Pod.
Sam
in the Land.
knows a little
Dozens
bit.
of them.
Sam thinks she knows.
She took this quiz beforehand and
How
did
many
very
did she
well.
get right?
At least 5, which is
If she only got 5, I'm getting 0.
She got 6 or 7.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's,
You've got this.
Okay.
I don't know.
Well, anyway, we will be quizzing Lydia later in the podcast. Just a little fun segment to break up the recap of the Ohio State-Miami game and the preview for Ohio State-Nebraska. But first, let's kind of move into talking about Ohio State and Miami and just like the way things worked out. Ohio State at first came out a little flat. They were down 5-0. And then quickly turned things around and scored 76 unanswered points with 42 points in the second quarter, which is their highest in any quarter throughout their program history. But
At least since 1960.
At least since
believe.
1916.
Why
But
is it at least?
Well,
you guys know.
Ohio State beat Oberlin 121-0 back in 19 or something like that. So, given that
Good year for Buckeye football.
121 points over 4 quarters, you'd assume there was probably a quarter where they scored at least 42, but they didn't keep accurate records at that time.
I see.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So that's the whole idea. So, but first, Andy, let's kind of talk about the way the defense played. Just because early on it seemed like Miami had a game plan that was working well against them, and then Ohio State quickly made adjustments, and then Miami just had nothing.
Right. One thing that's really impressed me about the defensive coordinators this year as compared to what happened last season, not to pin blame on anyone from last season, but this year they really seem to be able to mix coverages and adjust to what teams are doing to attack them. Miami came out with a great game plan. They said, okay, we know we can't match up physically with Ohio State's front seven. We know their D-line, their linebackers could eat us for breakfast if we try to go right at them. So what are we going to do? We're going to take what's given, quick passes, misdirection, try to get to them before they can get to us. You know, their quarterback never sat in the pocket for more than 2-3 seconds. In the first 2 drives, it worked. They moved the ball down the field, short passes, just quick little outs, slants, simple routes that took advantage of softer man coverage from Ohio State. As the game went on, adjusted. Ohio State came up, pressed those outside receivers. By the 3rd drive, completely shut down Miami's offense because now they were taking away those short throws. They said, okay, your quarterback doesn't have the arm to beat us over the top, so try. And Miami couldn't. Shut them down. After the first quarter, Miami had 17 yards of offense.
Wow. But they actually did outgain Ohio State in the first quarter. I believe it was 113 to 70 something, 76.
76, I believe it was.
Yep.
Yes.
And Andy, you mentioned their and we'll talk more about the defense, but you mentioned their quarterback dropping back 2-3 seconds. On the other side of the ball, you saw the opposite of that with how the Buckeyes came out. Brian mentioned they came out flat. Actually took their first deficit of the season this year, with Justin Fields on the second play of the drive from his own 1-yard line, holding the ball for way too long, honestly, and got a strip sack by Miles Reed, a linebacker for Miami, which went out of the back of the end zone for a safety and kind of a shocking first series there for the Buckeyes.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. Yeah, I remember myself thinking, what's going on? Is this the trap game that everyone's been talking about? I don't think anyone would have expected it, but then Ohio State made adjustments on defense, which is last year was not something we saw them do, at least in the first half. And that bodes well for the way this team is going to be moving forward, especially when you look at upcoming games against Michigan State, Wisconsin, and even further down the road with Penn State and Michigan.
Yep.
But let's kind of highlight one specific player with the defense who kind of helped lead the way and kind of helped turn the tide of momentum, and that's Chase Young. I mean, obviously it's going to be Chase Young.
To the surprise of nobody, Chase Young, stepped up once again. 7 sacks now. He had 2 strip sacks, both recovered for Ohio State in Miami territory. Both led to touchdowns. I believe both led to Chris Olave touchdowns, as a matter of fact.
They did, yes.
They scored on all 3 of those turnovers. Jeffrey Okudah also had his first career interception as well. That led to points. That defense was just on another level in that quarter.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I mean, just watching Chase Young, watching the entire D-line, the technique's impressive. Obviously, when you have the best D-line coach probably in America, and Larry Johnson, it's going to be that way. But just watching his get off from the ball is so impressive. If you're a young defensive lineman watching this by chance, you're going through the high school ranks, watch Chase Young's technique off the ball. 2 steps in the ground as quickly as possible, hands on the opposing offensive lineman, and then an immediate rush move in pass rush situations, able to rip underneath and cause a couple huge strip sacks that really, I mean, Ohio State was starting to turn the tide of the game, but once that really put it out of reach once he forced those 2 turnovers. And really, he's emerged now as probably the best defensive end in the country. I mean, 7 sacks through 4 games. He's causing turnovers, which is something that, there's one, we heard it today from Jay Sean Cornell in press conferences. It's one thing to get the sack. A strip sack can change the momentum of a game. So having that big of an impact player going forward is huge for Ohio State on the defensive line.
Mm-hmm. I remember one thing we talked about last week when we were talking about Chris Olave and the punt block he had against Indiana was just how that's a momentum changer that can take the other team completely out of the game and really change the momentum and change the tide. And a strip sack can do the exact same thing. Possession change, quick touchdown, both with Chris Olave. That's 14 points that it's tough to come back from that. In addition to all the other stuff that Ohio State's throwing at you.
Yes.
Right.
And the combination of Young and really just the pass defense in general was so impressive after, again, Gabbert started 2 for 3 for Miami, but after those first 2 drives, they couldn't get anything started. 60 pass yards in an entire game for a team that threw it, I don't know, it was somewhere around 30 times. No other team in the country outside of Army and Georgia Southern averages 60 yards passing or less per game. And those 2 teams throw the ball less than 10 times per game. They're triple option offenses. They don't throw it in the first place. So to hold a team that passes as, not that Miami's exactly an air raid, but they pass it a fair amount to 60 yards through the air. I know it's Miami, and they're 1-3 now, but really impressive stuff from the pass defense after weeks of how much we've talked about the run defense from Ohio State.
I think the main thing that stuck with me was just the fact that Ohio State's defense, as I've mentioned, made adjustments because we didn't see that at all last year. You look at games like Nebraska, you look at games like Maryland, you even look at the Purdue game where they lost. Mm-hmm. Ohio State's defense, their resume got hurt by the fact that they would not make adjustments before the first half, and then you had to come out and fight to regain a lead instead of being comfortably in the lead where they could then allow other people to get experience, and then their defense would get tired, and that would kind of lead to these holes that if you're a team that isn't Ohio State with all the talent you have, it's very difficult to get out of. But I do think it's time to shift focus more towards the offense because there's plenty to talk about in that range too. Let's get Justin Fields out of the way. I feel like I'm almost being a dead horse talking about him so much now. Only 6 touchdowns this time.
Only in one quarter.
In one quarter. He had a good game, I suppose. No, Justin Fields is quickly proving that he's one of the most talented quarterbacks in this country, and that's only with 4 games under his belt as a starter.
And as me and Andy talked about a lot on game day, that single game touchdown record for Ohio State, it's 7 with, I believe, JT Barrett setting that a couple times. Yeah. And even though that's been tested very often in the last few years with guys like Haskins and even Kenny Guyton, I believe, set it at the time in 2013. Mm-hmm. But Fields was 6 in just a quarter. Could you imagine if he would have played all 60 minutes?
We saw how Chris Chugunov got a couple touchdowns under his belt, so same with Gunnar Hoke. So I definitely feel like Fields would have had at least one or two, maybe three more.
You might have just seen one of those 9 touchdown games like Mr. Anthony Gordon from Washington State pulled out
And he lost.
in a losing effort. Probably not the case for Ohio State on Saturday, but possibly similar numbers offensively.
Well, those 9 touchdowns were the most since at least the 90s from what I found, too. Totally off topic, but insane that someone can set or do something that hasn't been done, in a couple decades and lose a game like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Andy, you were kind of, talking about like the pass defense, but I do want to focus on the passing game and the way the O-line played and like how that kind of led to Ohio State's success. What were your thoughts on that?
Oh, yeah. Miami isn't known for sacking quarterbacks exactly, but again, the pass protection was very much there this week. The only times Fields came under duress really were times that he held the ball for a long period of time. Saw the strip sack safety, obviously, in the first quarter that gave Miami a 2-0 lead. Lasted for so long, that lead did. But the thing on that route, that play that Day clarified later, you had a post-corner concept. For those of you who aren't as familiar with routes, that's where a receiver is going to run deep down the field, cut in toward the post, the field goal post, so like this, and then cut back out towards the corner.
You might as well just look at Lydia while you're talking.
This is just for all the viewers. We're explaining these concepts, but this is a very long developing route. So Fields had to hold the ball for a long time. Gets a strip sack. Guy somewhat got beat off the edge there. The left tackle, was it Thayer Munford, I think, that was responsible on that play? The guy that ended up getting the sack. Maybe it could have been a tight end.
Well, Day said that Dobbins missed a block on
Dobbins,
the play.
That's right. Dobbins, they sent an edge blitzer, and Dobbins didn't effectively pick it up. That's what happened.
And that might be a little bit of hubris on that play call right there, expecting just because you're playing Miami that you can drop back in the end zone on a play that takes some time to develop down the field. That might just be a little bit of, we're playing against a lesser opponent. We might as well try this to see if we can get a 99-yard touchdown.
Well, yeah, and Day almost said that. That was the subtext, at least, when he was like, yeah, that's kind of on me. He didn't say, oh, we're playing Miami, so we're going to just try this thing. But that was kind of the subtext. It's a good pickup there by you, Griffin. I think that...
thank you.
Yes.
I think part of it just boils down to the fact that Ohio State was fresh off, a shutout against Cincinnati and then an absolute domination of Indiana on the road. So, I mean, they definitely had a reason to, be a little confident and be a little cocky. But I mean, it's nice to see that they didn't let that adversity that Miami threw at them early on get to them. Right?
Yeah, and Fields even said after the game that he thought that was the first true adversity they've faced all season. Though I think I'm gonna go out on a limb and say they're gonna face probably a little bit more in the coming Big Ten season here.
I would definitely concur with that assessment.
Yes, Wisconsin on the horizon just handed a whooping to Michigan. That Jonathan Taylor looking pretty good too. So.
And he had almost 150 yards rushing in a quarter.
Essentially, because he got injured. Yeah, so very dangerous team to look out for on the horizon. There,
I remember we were like going to the game, like we were at the game, we were getting ready for coverage and everything, and I looked up and it's like, oh, the game just started and it's already 14-0, and Jonathan Taylor has 2 long rushing touchdowns. I'm like, okay, well.
Then it was 35-0, and you're like, oh, okay. So turns out it takes more than a year to install a spread offense, and having a first-time coordinator who's never called plays before is probably a bad idea.
Well,
you're Michigan.
Let's save all our friendly banter about Michigan for later in the season because we still have to stay on topic here. Let's kind of shift focus to talking about later in the game. After the sixth touchdown quarter, to talking about the way the backups play when they came in here, and how they really kind of stepped up. Even if it was against Miami, they still played very well.
They got to play the whole second half, so we got to see a lot from the backups. Garrett Wilson obviously shined again. That circus touchdown catch he had. Jamison Williams showed track speed. I mean, that pure ability to just burn an entire secondary like he did. That he outran a defender, a safety, who had a 5-yard head start on him on that touchdown catch he had, which is just insane to me because that's a defensive back, a college defensive back. That's a fast guy. Jamison Williams ran by him like he was standing still. And then so you get those two guys. Steel Chambers a little bit, freshman running back, not someone who's probably going to contribute this season, but led the team in rushing yards by the time it was all said and done. Got his first collegiate touchdown, so did Marcus Crowley. Chris Chugunov, you could sit there and look at his stats, which were impressive on paper, and say, you know, what was it, like 7 of 8, 6 of 7?
6 for 7
6
for
of 7.
86 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Right, but a couple of those balls were inaccurate. The one to Wilson was definitely underthrown, and Wilson just made maybe the catch of the year so far for Ohio State. I mean, I know it didn't really matter, but maybe the catch of the year so far for Ohio State. And you saw some other kind of inaccuracies where the receivers went out and made great plays for Chugunov. He had a nice throw or two in there. I'm not confident, though, if Fields goes down, that he could carry this team to the same championship level that Fields might. And you also saw Gunnar Hoke get some action in there. Looked about, I don't know, I don't think there was much separation between he and Chugunov.
I mean, he only threw 2 passes, so that's
Yes,
not much to really study there.
I mean, one of them was a 60-yard touchdown pass, but the receiver ran 49 yards of it. So.
Yes, hence my point.
Yes.
Well, anyway, I think we're far enough into the podcast to give Lydia her time in the limelight.
As she awkwardly said, as we tortured her for the first half or so of the pod, now she has her chance to shine.
That's no different from Clit being on here.
I know who Justin Fields is.
That's awesome.
That's the only thing I really understood from the last 16 minutes.
Did you watch the game on Saturday?
Okay.
Wow.
Well, Lydia, we were talking about this right before you started, but first, let's kind of share your background with us on sports.
Okay. So this is a short story.
Okay.
My dad played baseball professionally for like a hot minute.
Oh, that's
awesome.
Really? And then he but not like what you're picturing. Like he played in Australia.
Okay.
So it's professional, but it's not like the MLB or the MILB.
That's fine. Yeah.
Yes.
And so then he coached baseball at Eastern Kentucky for a while, and then he coached at Capital for like the majority of my life.
Oh,
So I know baseball. Like,
we have a couple baseball questions in here.
Oh wait, really?
Yeah, it's a bunch of
Oh,
sports.
but now if I get those wrong, that's really sad.
The pressure's on from
we'll have
from
to-
Mr.
But I
Wyrick
don't,
here.
like, know baseball. I mean, I do, but not like.
You know enough where if you went to a game, you would be able to understand relatively what's going on.
But I can't like tell pitches.
That's fine.
That's fine. I don't think we have any
It's hard to do for even like someone that
Okay.
knows baseball to tell what a pitch is just from the naked
But
eye.
I do like know how to watch it.
Well, that's
that
more
count?
than most people. That's more than
Okay.
that's more than Clit does.
Can you do you
What does he do? He's not here to defend himself.
Brian and Khalid just have an ongoing rivalry about the value of baseball in the modern day. So.
Wait, who likes it and who doesn't?
Khalid doesn't like baseball. Brian loves baseball.
Baseball is my sport. I spent the past 2 summers covering minor league baseball, so I will defend it.
Okay.
I was the
I'm
baseball
with you.
writer when I was in practicum. So
I like baseball.
Okay,
baseball's
we're getting off topic here. Okay, and that's
Baseball.
yes. Anyway, quiz. Just do the quiz.
all right,
Wait, you have to explain it.
Yes.
What do I get?
all right.
I
so
don't even know.
so this is the plan was so we've got 10 questions here, right? 9 multiple choice and a short answer.
Oh my gosh.
This is way
This
more
is
official
like
than I thought it was
legit.
gonna be.
If you get 5 right, you'll win. You'll win. I'll buy you lunch, or you'll win $5. The idea is 5 for 5 was the original tide pot.
$5.
Sure.
$5.
Actually,
Okay.
I said I wanted a cookie, but okay, I'll say
$5
you've
and a
been-
cookie.
$5 and a cookie. How about that?
I'll donate the $5.
To another
what?
cookie.
I don't know, to something like worthwhile.
The lantern.
Is that?
The Lantern Sports travel budget.
Yeah.
We need every dollar we can get.
We really can't. By the way, I mentioned last week, but the Starving College Writers Fund. I believe there'll be a link. We
A
put that link
GoFundMe?
down in here.
Or a bucket where you can drop change.
Andy's just gonna give all the viewers access to his bank account, and we'll see what happens.
No, what's your Venmo? Say it on air.
It's at none of your business.
Let's
Viewers.
Well, now they can't send you money.
Yeah. I'm not. No, I don't. I'm not.
make sure to hashtag it. Like,
They should hashtag at none of your business.
okay, all right.
So our quiz here.
Scared.
Are you ready?
No.
Question 1.
Question 1. In football, who snaps the ball to the quarterback? Is it A, the offensive guard, B, the center, C, the tight end, or D, the offensive tackle?
I have no idea.
You have no idea?
No, but I feel like wouldn't it make sense for it to be the guy in the middle? Is that what center
I'm not
means?
going to give anything away.
I feel like I deserve hints. Okay. I'm going to guess the logical one.
You're going with the center.
Yeah, because I don't even know what the other ones are.
Well, you're correct.
Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Center,
You-
the guy in the middle who throws it between his legs to the quarterback.
Okay, so that was like, it does make sense.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, sometimes
That's
a little
one.
bit of logic goes a long way, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then,
Deducing. We got Sherlock Holmes over here. You know, out here working her way through the
Wait, who catches it?
quarterback.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh. I don't. We might be off for a bad the next 9 questions if that
Just
was
so
her
you,
question.
I hope this doesn't come off as patronizing or anything to our
No,
viewers.
I agreed. I was a willing participant.
Right. Willing participant.
she brought it up, actually.
Yes.
Well, okay, yeah. I
All right.
wanted to be on the podcast. This is just where we ended up.
Yes. Moving on. So, question 2. If you are a switch hitter in baseball, what do you have the ability to switch? A, where in the field of play you can hit the ball. B, your stance at home plate. C, your eye, hair, and skin color so you can blend in like a chameleon. Or D, your handedness as in left or right when hitting.
The last one.
That is correct. 2 for 2.
I do know.
Ding, 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 ding.
I was confident about that one.
Yes.
I knew it wasn't the chameleon thing. I was certain about that.
That's, yeah.
All right.
Did you watch a lot of Capitol baseball growing up?
All of it.
Capital.
Did you live like near Capitol?
No, so like we lived in the woods my whole life, right?
Oh,
so like
okay.
we just like commuted.
I'm from Bexley, so Capitol was in my.
Oh yeah, we probably saw each other as children. Never knew.
Not at Capitol baseball games, but maybe
All
somewhere
lost
else.
friends.
Maybe on the streets.
Yeah, yeah.
Long lost friends
hard
from preschool.
streets.
Friends. Yeah.
The hard
Aw,
Bexley
that's
streets.
All right.
funny.
Question 3. In regular season NHL hockey overtime,
Oh no.
how many players, excluding the goalie, can each team have on the ice?
Okay.
A, 6, B, 5, C, 4, or D, 3?
I think I know
I
the
don't
answer.
even have like an inkling.
I mean,
Do you know the answer?
I think maybe. I
If
don't
you-
know for sure.
You're not
One-
confident.
No.
we could have it where she can have Griffin as
One
a
phone a
lifeline.
friend?
Yeah.
One phone a friend.
Oh my gosh, but I'm not using it now. You don't know.
Right. I was like, this, phone a friend is usually like if someone like might actually know the
Okay,
answer.
but wait. Do you know the anser?
I know the answer.
Okay, I just
But
wanted to.
but I also
I know
take
the
up a
answer.
line.
I know the answer, but I also was outside when we were testing the quiz with Sam. So,
Oh.
but I
So
do-
Griffins your phone.
What if
I
we
knew
do
I knew
phone
the answer
Sam
anyway.
and then Sam,
Oh, that's a
whatever
good idea.
answer she
We'll
says
call
you
it.
have to use?
well, she already knows the answers because she just took the quiz.
Yes,
But
we-
did she get this one right on
Oh.
first try?
No, but we told her what the answer was.
Okay, well we'll do one that she got right on first try, so
Well-
that it's not like cheating.
Well, you can
Right.
just use Griffin.
We might as well do phone Anna, considering Anna's Anna's bloodline.
We are making this far too complicated. We're just
Okay.
going to have Griffin as someone who's
Okay.
in this room.
I want.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Can I just place my guess, please?
Yes.
I'm ready,
Place your bets.
but I
too.
want to explain my logic behind my guess.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm gonna guess 5 because then it's an even number with the goalie. Is that wrong?
Well, you'd be right if it was in regulation, but in overtime, it's 3.
3?
What?
Yeah.
Griffin, were
Only
you
in the
wrong on
regular
that?
season.
How does anything even happen with 3 people?
Well, 3-on-3, a lot more happens because there's more space for the puck to move around.
I've been to one hockey game my
Right.
entire life.
No, it's a silly. So essentially, like people consider regular season overtime pointless because it's like people
Don't look
just
at me
want to
like
go
that,
home,
Brian.
so they want to end it
You
quickly.
covered
Oh, I
hockey,
see.
Griffin.
It's only 5 minutes long.
I'm gonna look at.
You covered
And
hockey
games,
and you didn't know?
and one game went to overtime, I think, too.
Well, that was college hockey.
So it's different.
Yes.
Oh, great. Okay.
All right. So, which of these 4 basketball positions doesn't traditionally exist? A, shooting guard. B, power guard. C, power forward. Or D, center.
I actually do kind of like that question.
It's
Do you
actually
know
very
the
clever.
answer?
Yes. Basketball is like my primary sport.
It's your primary sport.
I actually played basketball.
Oh, you did? I was going to ask you guys if you guys played sports as children.
Football
Yes.
and baseball.
I played basketball, soccer, cross country, track, but I only did basketball at like a slightly like decent level. So
Look at this. We're sharing personal info
So
with the
you-
viewers. This is great.
You fulfill this tall person stereotype. Is that what you're saying?
yes, but then I broke almost every part of my body.
Oh my gosh.
So that derailed my career quickly.
So
Okay.
you get MRIs now. Just kidding.
And very quickly for me, cross country and track in high school, golf casually, and then baseball, basketball, and soccer in grade school.
Okay, so the answer is yes. Everybody played sports.
Yes.
I didn't play
Sports.
anything, by the way.
Mhm.
Just thought I would add that.
That's fine.
That's fine.
Well,
Okay.
I wanted to contribute.
Did you do any other like extracurriculars?
No, not really.
Well, we're getting off track. Let's
Journalism.
continue with
All right, so
let's continue with the
you're
quiz.
stalling. What is your answer?
I want to hear the first two again.
Shooting guard and power guard.
I really don't know this one. Okay, I'm gonna go with the second one.
The power guard.
I don't want you to like confirm because then I get like nervous that it's wrong.
I'm just. All right.
Yeah.
But that's the right answer. So
Ding,
It
ding,
is?
ding, ding,
Yes.
ding, ding, ding.
that's already
ding.
3 for 4.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
All right.
This is
That's a passing
exciting.
grade.
Yeah, I
But
think.
also
I
I'm
think.
guessing.
Yeah.
You should ask for more.
You're using sound logic in the guesses. That's what it is.
That one didn't have any logic though. That was just like shooting made sense and I didn't know what power meant. So
Well,
fair.
no, that's logic.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
There we go.
maybe I missed my calling.
Should have been a sport. You should have taken my job.
Well,
I mean, you
Still
still
time.
can. It's not like he's good at. It's not like he's really productive or valued. No, I'm kidding. And he's great.
Power guard would be like a Eric Bledsoe type.
Yeah.
Who else would fit that
Power guard.
mold?
Kyrie maybe. He
I was thinking
drives
more of
enough.
like a
Technic-
stockier.
Technically, LeBron, since he controls the ball so much now.
I suppose, yeah.
Yeah.
I prefer him more as a point forward than a power guard, but
Well, now you're just making stuff up.
Well, yeah, both.
That's
Neither
a
of
real
the
thing.
positions
I know
exist.
it's a real thing.
But it's a classification.
Okay, continue with the quiz.
A quarterback just completed a play action pass. What does this mean he did before throwing the ball? A, faked a throw to a different receiver. B, scrambled for a first down. C, faked a handoff to a different player. Or D, spun around in a circle 3 times and said Bloody Mary.
okay, so this one I don't have any logic. Wait, what was the question?
it's definitely the last one.
A quarterback just completed a play action pass. What does this mean he did before throwing
Yeah,
the
that
ball?
doesn't help me. Okay, maybe this is the one that I should phone a friend on. I don't know what's smart though.
Anna?
Should I wait? Anna. I don't want to phone Anna. She doesn't know.
Are we phoning me then?
Who do
Phone-
I get
phone
to
Gri-
call?
phone
Do you know
Griffin.
the answer?
But he's
Yes.
he just knows the answer. Yeah.
Well, wait. So you're
He can
gonna
give you.
it to me?
He can give you a hint.
Does that mean I should give him half of my cookie
No.
if I win?
If you want to.
He can give you a hint. You can get a hint from Griffin.
Okay.
A
I want
hint.
A hint.
It results in a running play.
That doesn't help me.
A play action pass.
Oh, wait. Hold on.
it doesn't.
Sorry.
That was a bad hint. I'll give you a
It
hint.
Wait,
results
I
in a
think I should get
pass
it
from the quarterback.
Okay, it results in a pass from the quarterback.
Would you like to hear the options again?
Yeah,
Okay.
for sure.
Before he threw the ball, he A, faked a throw to a different receiver, B, scrambled for a first down, C, faked a handoff to another player, or D, spun around in a circle 3 times and said Bloody Mary.
Wait, so what was your hint?
I don't know how to give a hint that isn't already in there, though, really, because you already say
It's-
fake, and you already say he does end up throwing it. Right?
Okay, I think I'm. Wait, did you already give me a hint?
Here's
The
a
hint was already kind of included in the
here's a
question,
hint.
though.
Here's a hint. A play action is a misdirection play.
Oh wait, so is it the third one?
Yeah. Wow,
I'm
4
good
for
at this.
5. This is 5 might have been too low a standard because I feel
You
like
cannot change it now. I'm doing
No,
so good.
no,
I have to
can't.
beat Sam.
See, yeah, that's the thing. We'll have
We're
other
not telling
lantern
her
people.
How many
Help
did
me.
Sam
It's
get?
also for bragging rights. I think she got 6 or 7.
Oh my gosh.
She got 6.
So you got
6.
6. Okay.
So how I'm 2 away.
2
Yeah.
away.
This one you might get too. So, which golf club hits the furthest? A, driver, B, 7-iron, C, sand wedge, or D, putter?
Not the last one. That's all I know. Do you
You'd be
guys-
surprised.
Wait, really? Is that did you just trick me?
No.
No.
Griffin, stop messing with
Much
her
like the play action pass, that was what you call a misdirection.
Clever.
Do you
That's
guys
a
all
thing.
know this answer?
Yes.
Do you know this answer? Are guys born with knowledge? In
My
sports.
mom and my family loves to play golf. And I've played golf, so I know it from experience.
Okay.
Yeah, and I just like as a kid, sports was my obsession. Like I kept journals full of stats, and I think
Oh
you were
my
the same way.
God.
He's just a nerd.
That's cute. So you guys also keep journals, but they're just with numbers.
Well, I used to just do like projects where I would like do write ups and like
Did
stats
you do
and
fantasy
stuff.
teams? Like make historical fantasy
Yes, that's
teams?
exactly what I was
Absolutely-
referring to.
Absolutely what I would do, yeah.
Yeah, so we'd like
That's
pick
amazing.
I
who we
also-
thought
I
was
also-
the best player of all time at each position in each sport.
Yes, and I would do it by decade and stuff too.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, that all that.
Cute. You guys are like fulfilling your destiny. I feel like. Okay, I want to hear the options again.
Driver, 7-iron, sand wedge, putter.
Okay, I really don't know. Okay, I'm going to go with the first one.
You're right again.
That's amazing. You beat Sam.
It's out. You're
Nobody
already
out there
And
knows.
you're
suddenly
5 for 6.
Suddenly she has to get at least 7 for whatever prize we were offering
you
her
cannot
previously.
change
No,
the
she's getting the prize, but I mean the
I'm
bragging
getting
rights
the
over
freaking
Sam is
prize.
even
The bragging
more
rights, and if we have
Wait, so am I
future,
at 5?
You're
Yeah.
at 5.
I get the $5.
Yeah,
Cookie?
and a cookie.
got a cookie.
I'll give Griffin half.
Yay. Even though I don't know how much I helped you.
All right, next one is a baseball
Minimally.
question.
Okay.
Sorry, were you saying?
No, that's
I didn't mean to cut you off.
no. You're good.
All right,
Go for it.
here we go. In which of these baseball plays did the ball likely travel the shortest distance? A, bloop single,
What?
B, home run, C, bunt, or D, 4-6-3 double play ball?
Bunt.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Hey-o.
I'm really happy I'm not getting the baseball ones wrong.
Ding, 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 ding,
If
ding.
my dad ever watched this and I did, I feel like I would be disowned.
There's one more baseball question, but it's a lot tougher.
Okay, well, we'll see.
Next question.
It is the next
I'm
question.
at Sam's level now.
Yeah, you've
Oh,
already gotten
I have
6.
to get another one right.
You do.
Well, it's a baseball one, so we'll see.
Can we bring her in here if I beat her?
Well, we can talk to her afterwards.
Right.
Okay.
All right, here
Oh,
we
no,
go.
no.
Oh, no.
I like how you're like the soundboard, like the special effects.
What British sport is considered an ancestor to baseball? And for those listening at home, these are all real sports, by the way. That when I was a kid, I had we mentioned I was a sports nerd. I had a book full of like different sports that were like abstract. So these are some selections from that book.
Passion.
Yeah. So, which British sport is considered an ancestor to baseball? A, bandy, B, rounders, C, Eton fives, or D, hurling?
I haven't heard of any of them. I can't even picture them in my brain.
I could explain them to you after if you'd like.
We can do that. We can do that after.
After the
the
podcast, yes.
I can tell you're like the type A one that keeps everybody on schedule. Is that true?
It's actually much easier with you here because we actually have a set topic to work with.
Amazing. Well, I'm happy to help.
But I do that out of necessity. I'm much more laid back normally.
He does keep us. He's the moderator. That's
And
his.
Griffin is the most engaged for sure.
Yes.
I'm like the analytical one who talks too much.
Okay.
We all have our niche.
And I'm just
Exactly.
playing it by ear, you know?
Clit's the personality of the show. He really engages the viewership, I'd say, to compliment him.
Okay. Good. Okay, so was there
But he will be replaced if you get 2 more answers correct.
Yes, that is correct. We're replacing Khalid.
I don't know if you want me here.
Even
or
without the
leave.
2 answers, we're just going to do it.
Okay. Was there one that started with a B?
Yeah,
Okay, I'm just going to go with that one for like alliteration purposes.
it's not.
Okay.
It's not bandy. It was rounders. Rounders.
Yes.
You bat with one hand, and there's posts instead of bases, but they're in a diamond. Except there's 5 of them.
Posts?
Yeah.
I feel like that's very dangerous.
Yeah, there's 5 of them instead of 4. So like you bat at one, and then it goes first, second, third, like a traditional baseball diamond. But home, like where you score, is actually like tangential from third base instead of like completing the diamond.
Do these sports still happen?
I think people stay play rounders.
Yeah, it's not. I don't know if it's professional necessarily.
It's definitely
I
not
should
as
do a
popular
whole
as
episode
baseball.
on that.
On just obscure sports.
Yeah.
I think that'd be fun, actually.
That'd be a fun
just
one.
gave
that
you
would
a
be,
new segment
that would
idea.
actually be
Yeah.
a fun one-off podcast.
I should be on staff at this podcast.
Yes.
I'm going to replace Griffin, actually.
Managing editor.
I actually want to see you and Khalid on the same podcast. So
Okay, I'm game. I'll be a reoccurring.
anyway, next question.
Okay, on track.
A side character.
Who owns the NBA record for most three-pointers in a season, ranks third all-time in career three-pointers, and leads all active players, hint, in three-pointers? A, Steph Curry, B, LeBron James, C, Michael Jordan, or D, Griffin Strom?
Well, I can tell you one thing. It is definitely D.
Wait, all 3 of the players, except for Michael Jordan's not playing currently. He's not. I know that. But the other 2 are.
Mm-hmm.
I do know who LeBron James is. And I know who Griffin is. So that counts, right?
Right.
I'm flattered.
You know who 3 of the 4 are.
Yes. Okay. I mean, I know who the other guy is, but I don't know about him.
Mm-hmm.
This is hard. Isn't there a worldwide debate about who's the best? between the
Yeah.
three of those people?
Not
Well-
between, Steph Curry's not in the debate, but
Oh,
LeBron and Michael Jordan, there's like a worldwide debate about who's better between the two. As like
But
the
this
best
is
player
more
of the team.
a set statistic.
Yeah,
You
this
can't
is a
really-
set. So like, who has the most 3-pointers in a season? You know,
Oh, in a season? Well, that
Yes.
doesn't really help me. I don't know that more than non-season.
and as you know, I also mentioned active players. They lead all active players. So Michael Jordan isn't an active.
Oh, so he's excluded unless it's him.
Well,
He can't. It can't be him.
if you lead all active players in a statistic in sports, it means that you lead all people currently playing.
I feel like that just made me more confused.
Basically, since you know Michael Jordan's retired, I can tell you it's not Michael Jordan.
Okay, that's what I was
So
kind of
it
getting.
is
Yes.
Steph Curry or LeBron James.
It's so not Griffin.
I think it is Griffin.
You know, had I not broken my leg, my back, my wrist, all within like 6 months.
Back? I broke my leg once, actually. It wasn't enjoyable.
I can imagine.
I enjoyed it. I rather enjoyed it.
Okay, I want to say LeBron James because I feel like he's just better than everyone else.
Steph Curry.
Sad. I should have guessed you if I was going to get it wrong anyway.
Exactly.
Right. So that is.
It's Griffin
You're
in
still at
spirit.
Wait,
6.
did Sam get that one right?
Yeah. You're still at 6, so you still need 1 to beat her.
I don't think I've ever watched an entire basketball game in my entire life.
Wow.
We'll fix that.
Missing out.
I don't know if I want to fix it. I would go to like a live one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
all
I
sports are
don't wanna
better
watch it on
live. I
television.
can't think of a single sport that's better on TV.
No.
So some people think football
Golf.
is. Golf is better on TV. Okay.
I don't want to
Probably like a
on
distance
TV.
event too, like the Tour de France or
Yeah.
a marathon.
We're
or
getting
something
off
like
track again.
that. All right. So final question to beat Sam. Short answer
Oh,
response.
I'm terrified.
Do you know your favorite sports editors and the stories that they write? Within 500 tickets, how many fewer season football packages did Ohio State sell to students in 2018?
Okay. I want to lead with I definitely edited this story.
Yes.
So I did read it.
Uh-huh. But do you remember?
The 21st night
retain-
of
Oh, I'm
September.
going to be so sad if I get this wrong. Okay, I feel like the number that I want to say is so high though.
Wait, does she have to get
we-
exactly? You
can
said it
Within
fi-
500.
okay.
Can we give her a range of 1,000?
It was the headline.
Okay, fair
So-
enough.
So
now
you know what, Ryan?
Andy's just being
Can I ask
defensive.
a question? Did Sam get this one right?
No, she didn't, I don't think.
Okay, good.
Wait, did she?
I don't think she did, no.
That actually makes me feel better. Okay, since she didn't get it right, can I ask a question?
Okay.
Excuse me? I'm sharing my cookie with you. Is it above or below 5,000?
It's above.
Okay, is it 7?
That would be within 500.
That's my guess.
There you go.
7 was the first number that came to
Well,
mind,
guess what?
actually.
You got 7 correct.
I beat Sam.
You
beat Sam.
Oh my gosh. I think this might be my favorite moment of this year.
Yes.
How many tickets was it?
It was
6,500.
It was 6,500 was the headline. The exact number was between 6,700 and 6,800.
Maybe that's where I got 7 from.
Right.
Or maybe
That
I
could be it.
rounded up in my brain.
But yeah, you were within 500, so you got it.
All right, well, congratulations. You will have $5 from Mr. Andy Anders' wallet later, along with a
Later.
cookie of choice.
Yes, I want the cookie to have M&Ms in it.
Eminem.
Are you
Oh,
okay
that's a
with
good
cookie?
kind.
Oh, you're okay
That
with
is a
that?
good kind.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Panera has them.
Panera.
By the way.
Okay.
Now we're getting.
Don't forget.
She specifically wants a Panera.
Go
in-
get
we're
it
doing,
now.
We're doing sponsorships for Panera now.
Okay.
Well, thank you very much for being on here, Lydia. It's been an
Thanks for
absolute
having me.
pleasure.
Is there anything you want to plug? What you got going on in your life?
Not much. You should read The Lantern,
That
just
is-
in general.
that
All
is very
seasons. And I'll probably write a story this week. I don't know what it'll be about, but we've heard rumors of news coming
Uh-oh.
on Thursday and Friday.
As Jon Snow, I believe, said, the news is coming.
Yes. That might be a paraphrase, but yeah.
I don't know. I
We
feel like it's
paraphrase in
accurate.
journalism.
That wasn't. That was just.
Okay, for me to like
Uh-oh.
Khalid's looking through the window at us. I think he's gotten
You
jealous.
I think you know what, we can swap out Khalid.
Yeah, we
for
can.
Lydia.
Yeah, but
Let's-
I don't think I can get out of this chair.
You can get out of the chair. You can move around.
Wiggle.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Bye.
much for being with us.
Yes.
It was
Comment if you
really
want me to
fun.
come back.
Okay. And be nice. Okay.
Be nice.
Yeah, they're gonna love you. So be nice.
I would think they would be
Yeah, why would
What, the
anyone
co-
not like her?
What, the comment section?
The comment
What,
section.
our adoring comment section?
We've never
You're
gotten a
getting
single
off
comment
topic.
I beat you. I come in.
No, do it outside, okay?
No, no,
Sam's
no,
not
no,
on
no, no,
camera.
no, no.
Sam is also looking through the window.
Let you come in. He has a strict schedule.
We still have part of
Khalid,
the podcast. to
get
go.
in here.
Thank you.
Tell Khalid to come in.
Well, that's
So
fun.
do we.
It's
All
8
right.
o'clock. Aren't we supposed to be done at 7? Not with
That's
this. I'm saying
a
with,
whole
with
other topic to talk about. Khalid, welcome. Join the podcast.
Just it's filler while we get Khalid back on here.
Yeah, I will definitely edit some of this.
No.
No, that was a really fun segment.
It was a really fun segment. I had a lot of fun with that.
That was awesome, and she was like just a great guest because engaged in a lot of conversation. you
Yeah,
know?
definitely better than Khalid.
Lydia's your permanent replacement now.
Hey, I like that.
All right, welcome back, Khalid. How are you doing?
Pretty good. How are you guys? How was it?
She got 7 correct out of 10.
7?
Yeah.
I was
coughing up $10.
$5.
Aw.
$5
you
and a cookie.
cheap, you old cheapie.
Dude, like I said,
Little
if anyone
cheapskate.
wants me to give 10, the link, the bucket in the description.
All right.
yeah.
Well, we're running out of time, so let's kind of quickly go into our Nebraska preview. Kind of talk about what's going up with that first. We do have a transfer portal situation to talk about quickly with Isaiah Pryor entering the transfer portal. Thoughts on
Rightfully
that?
so.
You want to
Why do you say
speak
that,
further,
Khalid?
Khalid?
Yeah, I think Isaiah Pryor, honestly, he deserves the right to honestly transfer out. Because coming out of high school, he was a highly recruited player. I believe he was like top 20 or top 30 recruiting the country.
Top 70, but that's still very impressive.
Yeah, he's still really,
still
really
very
good
impressive.
prospect. And coming into Ohio State, his role was kind of weird because it was like early on he played on special teams, then he got into the defensive rotation. Started, I believe, 7 games last season, and then this season is just kind of like he got replaced last year by Brendan White, who broke out onto the scene, and then this year his role just kind of diminished. He's been basically solely a special teams player, and for somebody who's of his caliber, I think he could start at so many other schools and get his shine. So seeing that he put his name into the transfer portal, honestly, it wasn't a surprise to me.
And do you think that might affect Ohio State moving forward in the season, even against Nebraska, possibly? Or
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. You think Ohio State?
Absolutely. I think they'll be just fine without him. No disrespect to him, but it's just they're so deep and they have so many young guys who can bring production to that defense and that secondary. You've seen guys like Josh Proctor come in and already shine a little bit. So it's not like they're missing too much, honestly, with them because they're so deep at that secondary position. And what Jeff Hafley and the system that they've brought into this year has really put the players in best position to succeed this season. So I think they'll be all right without him.
Well, let's kind of look into this Nebraska matchup because really you could argue that this is going to be the first real test that Ohio State's going to have this season.
We'll see.
Well, we'll see, but it is a night game on the road.
Yeah.
Game day is going to be there, so whether or not Nebraska does end up playing well, I still think you can make the case for it being a legitimate test, or at least a big game in that regard.
I think what's weird though is everyone's saying like, oh, this is finally Ohio State's playing somebody, but what's funny is that if Ohio State does demolish Nebraska like they have all their other opponents, I have a really great feeling the nationwide census is going to be that, oh, well, Nebraska wasn't even that good of a team anyway, so Ohio State still hasn't beaten anybody.
I feel like that sentiment. I feel like that sentiment already kind of exists with
like a
Nebraska
lose-lose situation.
after their loss to Colorado.
Oh, I totally agree with you. Yeah, it's Nebraska. They're hyping it up. I think it's mainly the team that's kind of hyping it up as their first true test. Nebraska, while you might have, it's the first big road game for a young team. Because Indiana, let's be honest.
It's a night game, so that's.
And it's a night game. Like the stadium, the atmosphere, the crowd,
Under the lights,
all that stuff.
the ambiance, the atmosphere.
You calling me cliche over here, Griffin?
No, I'm feeding into it.
We're leaning into the cliches. We're leaning into the ambiance.
Doubling down. Some would
down.
say.
But the first true road test for this team could have some hiccups. The thing is, Fields is too poised for me for any of that to go wrong. I think that maybe the first drive, he comes out has just a little bit of time to get acclimated to the noise on the road, a little bit sluggish. Maybe Ohio State, again, gets a little bit down early, or it's 0-0 for a while. And it's back and forth, but they'll take control by middle second quarter, I think, in this game. Nebraska, you look at the results, lost to Colorado, who isn't of Ohio State's caliber, almost lost to Illinois, had to pull off a fourth quarter comeback, who's definitely not of Ohio State's caliber.
Mm-hmm.
They outplayed Illinois in that game. They did, outgained them by a lot, turned the ball over a lot, but even still, to let Illinois hang around like that, and you've got Ohio State coming to town now. It's not a good look for Nebraska.
Yeah. The main thing that keeps me from saying that's going to be an absolute blowout is because I think a lot of us were expecting last year's matchup with Nebraska to be an absolute blowout, and it wasn't. Ohio State had barely won that game.
Also, coming to this season, you had Nebraska, who was being really hyped in the preseason rankings, and then also you had their quarterback, Adrian Martinez, who was in Heisman conversations before the season started. So seeing this team before the season actually has kicked off, you would think this would be a huge matchup for Ohio State, and this game would be primetime. That's why it's being played at night. But looking at it 4 weeks later, it's kind of like, I don't know. One team seems so much better, and as the other team is kind of underperforming, in my opinion.
Yeah, but what you said, Brian, is interesting. The fact that we said last year that Ohio State should handle this team, and last year Nebraska was a 1-win team when they played, and it was late in the season. Like, it was supposed to be a huge overmatch. The thing I think that's different about this team, we said that a lot of times, and it didn't happen last year. Minnesota, they didn't handle. Maryland, Purdue, Nebraska. I think didn't they played Indiana too, right? Yeah, Indiana kind of hung with.
Indiana scored I think 20 points or something.
Yeah, Indiana hung with them for a while. It's like, I really think this team, compared to last year, is so much better defensively, like light years. Mm-hmm. Nebraska's going to have trouble, especially if Maurice Washington's out. If Maurice Washington's out of this game, which he's questionable, that really, really puts a damper on their running attack, because now you're just having to shut down Adrian Martinez and whoever else they scrap together back there. It looks like Dedrick Mills is their next running back. So
I believe that's correct, yes.
Really, if you got Maurice Washington out of this game, it hurts him even more. But even with him, I just don't see the Huskers matching up in this. I think there's too much speed and aggression on this Ohio State defense now to move the ball consistently, like they did last year with those quick gains. They basically did what Miami did to Ohio State last year.
And the question might just become, how much will Ohio State put up on the Huskers, and just how much can they separate themselves from the pack in the Big Ten?
That's definitely a fair point. I mean, I think the only team that you could say is comparing with Ohio State right now is Wisconsin because of their big win over Michigan.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So,
but one thing that I do feel like it's a little bit different about this Ohio State team is that this year I'm getting this consensus around the team where it's like every player on this team feels like they can do more. They all feel like they haven't reached their best, and it's really crazy to think about because a lot of these guys are performing so well right now. Look at
Chase Young.
Yeah, you have arguably what I think they said it was like the third best scoring defense and the third best scoring offense in the nation. So they're doing it on both sides of the on the ball, and you have a guy like Justin Fields and Chase Young and J.K. Dobbins who are performing really, really well. And when you hear them speak, they aren't pleased, and they think they can do that much better. So the fact that they aren't settling on oh yeah, we're better than this team, we're just gonna walk into Nebraska in primetime game and show up and beat them. I don't get that feeling. I feel like they still feel like they have stuff to prove. So I don't know. I feel like Ohio State will go into this matchup with a lot different of a mindset than they did last year.
I agree with that. And we're running out of time here, so we're going to quickly shift focus on other non-football sports. Andy, you were mentioning men's soccer before the podcast.
Yeah, we haven't had a chance to talk about what?
Another win for the soccer team?
They did get another win.
Well, they did, but they also...
They're playing tonight, right?
Yeah.
Yep. They're playing right now, as a matter of fact.
They did lose to Penn State.
We haven't gotten to talk about them since they ended up capping their win streak at 5 games.
Which, compared to last year.
Hey, that's more than half of what all their total wins last year.
No, they had 1 total win last. So 5 times more.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So already doing a lot better. I know we've brought them up a lot, and we haven't gone too in depth about them any of the time.
Maybe we'll do that next week.
Yes, maybe we'll go
yes.
in
We'll make
depth
time for
next
it.
week.
We'll make time for next week. Women's soccer also got a win last week. They beat Michigan State. Then they lost to Michigan over the weekend. But still, they got another.
They're picking it up a little
They're
bit.
picking it up a little
3
bit.
of the last 4, right? Yeah.
And also this week, new sports starting. Men's and women's hockey are starting very soon. Women's hockey starts this week, and I think men's hockey starts in a couple weeks.
Yes, I believe that's the following week is their first exhibition game.
Yes.
The following Friday.
By the way, both of those teams are definitely looking to be very good. I know myself and Griffin, we both covered women's hockey last school year for the Lantern.
It's near and dear to our hearts.
Near and dear to our hearts. We know the team pretty well, and they're returning a lot of talent. Emma Maltea is back. Jinsey Dunn is back. Tam Skaggs is back, and that's just 3 of many players that are going to help.
Nationally elite players.
Elite players,
yes.
Especially Emma Maltea. Andrea Brandley, their sophomore goaltender, now is an Olympic gold medalist.
Mm-hmm.
So that's definitely pretty insane.
She started with the Olympic team?
No, she was a backup goalie, but still.
She
she made
enough.
the Olympic team, and they were still Olympic gold medalists.
Yes.
Either way. But anyway, this is a team that 2 years ago made it to the Frozen Four their first time of their career, and then last year kind of fell short. And this year, I think they're kind of gearing back up for another run at the Frozen Four. It's going to be tough though. They got to get past teams like Wisconsin and Minnesota.
And those teams are just like such hockey powerhouses that, you know, part of why they did end up in the Frozen Four a couple years ago was because it was an Olympic year. Mm-hmm. So a lot of those like elite level talents that were on the Minnesotas and the Wisconsins of the world were like playing, you know, in the Olympics and doing stuff like that, which kind of freed up Ohio State to make a run. But last year they were still good. They were just outside of that same level they got to.
So they were still a top 10 team, but they just weren't good enough to reach, like, you know, they were still a top 8 team. I think they were the 8th seed in the playoffs, and then they lost in the first round to Wisconsin, I believe.
Yeah, well, they ended up losing. They didn't like qualify for the tournament or whatever. They
lost in the Big Ten tournament.
Yeah, they needed to have basically beaten Wisconsin in the Big Ten or the WCHA.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, we'll have more of that hot piping analysis on women's hockey and men's hockey, and we'll even go more in depth on men's and women's soccer and field hockey even next week.
Didn't men's basketball have their media day today?
Men's basketball did have their media day today, but our SD card has a minute left of storage. So we are out of time today, folks. Thank you for sticking with us this long, and I do sincerely hope you enjoyed this episode. Tune in next week. You know, as I said, for all that analysis, and also
the piping hot
analysis, and also be sure to check out our episodes of the Lantern Film Room and our pregame show for Nebraska this week, and also staying tuned for our coverage of the Nebraska game on Saturday. From Khalid Hashi, Griffin Strom, Andy Anders, and even Lydia Wyrick, I'm Brian Nelson, and this has been the best damn pod in the land.
Boom!